we are surviving. This is survival, really. So at least it's my way to describe it, and it's difficult because the PFS it's kind of an invisible disease. Normally your friends and people in your entourage normally think that you are good because you are trying to feel good. You go to plans, and they see you normal because apparently you are good, but we are experimenting a lot of bad stuff that it's obviously affecting our well-being. If right now I had to lose all my hair to get my health back, I would do it. Once PFS comes to your life, at least for me, your hair is not important anymore. I don't care. I don't have any insecurity, Mark. I promise you, I don't have any insecurity about my hair since PFS came to my life. So don't worry. This for all the men that are thinking about this, starting this treatment, don't worry about your hair.
Awesome. All right, what is going on, guys? This is Mark Millick here with the Moral Medicine YouTube channel. So today we have the pleasure of speaking to Carlos. Carlos is a PFS patient that's had PFS for about 15 months now, if I remember correctly. So Carlos, thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, thank you, Mark. The pleasure is mine. Thanks for having me, really.
Absolutely, man. Yeah, thank you again. So let's start with this, man. What was your life like before you got post-finasteride syndrome?
Well, before all the symptoms started, you mean the crash, or
yeah. Before you actually took finasteride, what was your life like? What were you doing with your life?
I was a normal guy. I was studying. I was looking for jobs that could activate my passions, and just having normal relationships with my friends, with my family, with girls. Just a happy guy.
Sure.
I was okay. No big health issues.
Mm-hmm.
I was okay. Well, it's true that I was pretty insecure about my alopecia, but at the time I didn't know about finasteride or any treatments, so I was just living my best life.
That's right. So actually, that goes into the next question here. So how did you actually hear about finasteride, and how were you prescribed it?
So it was a relative of mine who actually he's taking finasteride right now for I don't know, maybe 30 years now. He's my cousin's husband.
Mm-hmm.
And he told me about this because he noticed that my hair was thinning, and he knew also that my dad was bald. So he started to tell me about finasteride, about this is a treatment that is going very well with alopecia and with baldness and everything, and you should try this dermatologist. He told me about a dermatologist in Madrid, and I just went there, and this was like my first meeting with this dermatologist.
Mm-hmm. So did he give you any warning about the potential side effects of finasteride?
No warnings. And I've been talking with him obviously since PFS came to my life, and well, he's a little bit upset because he feels guilty, that he told me about finasteride and all the treatment, but obviously he didn't know that this was real, or he didn't know about this disease. He was just trying to help me with my insecurities. So no big deal with that.
Well, that's the thing, man. I mean, it's not lost on me that this is a relatively rare disease, right? Because I have friends, I have not family members, but I have friends who take this medication and they take it without any issues whatsoever.
Yeah.
So, I never would have thought this would have happened to me. So, I guess you went to the dermatologist, you got prescribed finasteride. So when did you actually start taking it?
So I started taking finasteride on February 2021. Mm-hmm. So 3 years ago, almost.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And well, I remember the first meeting. They put a camera in my head to see my like the thinning and everything, to analyze how my alopecia was there, because I could see it. I could see it, like my hair was thinner than years before. They told me, Carlos, in your case, I would not recommend hair transplant, because we have like a better solution, less invasive. That is the chemical treatment, and that is minoxidil and finasteride. And in that time, they didn't tell me about any side effects. They just told me that in my case, that would work very good for me for my situation. And it was in that time, it was only like an informative meeting, you know. After that, I have my first meeting with the dermatologist when I decided to go to the treatment for the treatment, and in that time, it was when they told me about side effects. They told me, Carlos, there is like a 1-2% probability that you could have sexual side effects, you know, like loss of libido and erectile dysfunction. But this is all temporary, you know. They told me probably you're not gonna have it, and if you have it, you just have to get off the drug. At the time, I was pretty secure about the treatment, but when you see it with time, it's like I was not with a dermatologist. I was with a commercial. You know, you feel like you were with a finasteride commercial that they were talking. They were telling you that it was a very safe drug and everything. So yeah, they told me about this, and I told them, okay, let's go for it. You know, I don't have anything to worry about, because if the side effects are temporary, no big deal for me. You know, I wanna get my hair back and be secure, and you know, just living in peace with my hair and not losing it. So I was ready for it.
Absolutely. So how soon after you started taking the drug did you experience side effects?
Yeah, the first weeks. The
Wow.
first weeks straight. Yeah. It's crazy because they told me, okay, there is 1-2% probability. And the first month, I lost my libido. That and that at that time, it wasn't like a big deal for me, because the erectile dysfunction it didn't appear at that moment. It was just the loss of libido. No, I remember like being 1 month without my normal masturbations. You know, without I'm sorry if I'm going transparent and honest with this, but I have to tell it like it was. So I remember like jerking off once a week that month, when normally I used to do it minimum like one time per day.
Sure.
So I started to think, what is happening to me? Like this is I feel strange, you know. This is not me. Why my body isn't calling me for more masturbations like usual, you know? So, but you know, I hadn't a girlfriend at the moment, so I was just thinking, okay, so less masturbations is okay for me.
Sure.
But yeah, it was the first month symptoms, you know. I was like, oh, this is not the 100% secure as you told me, you know.
I don't know if you heard this too, but they always they told me, or what I heard was that if you start experiencing symptoms, just push through them, because the symptoms will eventually go away after a month or two of taking the medication. And
yeah,
that's not the case for most people. When they push through, it tends to get worse.
oh,
At least from the people I've spoken to. So I'm assuming, were you taking 1 milligram every day? Just
1 milligram.
Day?
Yeah, it was 1 milligram. The first dose was half a milligram.
Okay, I got you.
So with half a milligram, I experimented the loss of libido, and then in the second month or third month, it resolved. You know, that my libido came back, and then I had a long period of time when I was feeling okay with finasteride, no issues.
Oh wow! So it did resolve. So how long did that resolution last for then? So
it resolved for, like, I had no issues with the drug for maybe 1 year, 1.5 years.
That's
Like,
incredible.
approximately.
So then what made you decide to come off it then?
So the problem was that I remember in the middle of my treatment, approximately, my dermatologist told me, well, there is a way to take finasteride and not paying the 1 milligram dose, because the 1 milligram dose in Spain is more expensive than the 5 milligram dose. You know, the doses with finasteride, the 5 milligram dose is for prostate problems. And the 1 milligram is for alopecia. So he told me, so Carlos, you could buy the 5 milligram dose, and cut it into 4 parts. So you're gonna take 1.25 milligram dose, and this is a trick that many patients and dermatologists know, because if it's cheaper, life is expensive now. So if they tell you a way to save money, you're gonna say yes. So it was like, okay, so I'm taking the 5 milligram dose, cut it in 4 parts, and it was months after that that decision that the bad symptoms came back to my life.
So you basically increased the dosage to 1.5
Yes.
milligrams because you were cutting the 5 milligram pill into 4.
Yes, but I don't know if it was exactly 1.25, because
Sure.
I'm not a doctor. As patients, they tell you, okay, so cut the pill in 4 parts, but you don't have a machine to do it like in the perfect dosage, So when you cut it in your house, maybe one day you're gonna take 1.1, and the other day you're gonna take maybe 1.5. So it's but at that time, you don't worry about the dosage you are taking, because since the beginning they are telling you that this is secure. So I don't care if I'm taking 1.5, because supposedly this is a safe drug. So
yeah, absolutely. So basically, you were kind of modifying your dosage a little bit, and that's when you started experiencing symptoms. With a couple months of that. Did you just decide at that point, hey, I got to stop this because these symptoms are getting too bad? Or can you tell me about
that? Yeah, it was like that, because 2 months before my crash, it was like the thing that we were saying, with the problems with the dosage. So I remember that the symptoms escalated with time, because the dosage maybe was wrong for my body. I don't know, because nobody knows how this in everybody is different, so we don't know. But I remember that I started to experiment those bad symptoms like insomnia, my voice power. I remember like losing my voice twice, like before my crash. I already said the insomnia.
Yep, you mentioned that.
So the insomnia, losing my voice, the libido was also, I was losing it. The rectal dysfunction, I didn't experiment it. That was in the crash. But moodiness also, I was feeling like down, and at that time I didn't connect the dots. I didn't relate all those symptoms with finasteride, because I was having a tough time at work, at the work that I was at that time. So I was feeling like, well, maybe this is just stress, because I'm having this tough time at work. So maybe I'm just stressed and I'm experimenting the insomnia because of anxiety or whatever, but I wasn't thinking about finasteride at that time. It was It was later that I thought, okay, this is finasteride, because this is unreal. But we go into it.
Yeah, no. So I mean, that's actually really common, because a lot of people start experiencing symptoms and they don't think it's finasteride related, because you don't hear about these symptoms, right? You hear about the sexual issues. You don't hear about. You mentioned the vocal changes, right? So like you had a tough in your voice. I still have that to this day. My voice is higher pitched.
Me too.
You see, I used to have a very deep, booming, powerful voice. So that's one. You mentioned the insomnia. You said kind of the low mood. You don't attribute these things to finasteride necessarily, right? So you started experiencing these things while you were still taking it then, after you had basically changed the dosage. So at what point did you say, okay, this might be finasteride, I got to come off the medication?
So there was like nowadays in social media, they say like it's a canonic event, like I had a very terrible night. I remember the day. It was December 23rd of 2022. Okay, so almost 2 years with the treatment. And I remember being just at a club, just going out with my friends, and I remember meeting a girl that I liked, because I noticed, at the club, this girl is beautiful, I should talk to her, just go into it. And so I went to talk to the girl, and everything went right. Like she liked me also, so we started kissing. No, at that time, I remember. After a little bit of talking, we started kissing, and that was when I knew that my body was super crushed, because it was like kissing a tree. I remember the feeling like 100%, like it was yesterday, kissing her and not feeling anything in any part of my body, neither my brain or my genitals. I was like, I'm kissing a really beautiful girl, and my body is not reacting like in any way. I didn't know what to think. I remember going back home that night just thinking, what is happening? This is so unreal.
That's such a weird thing, isn't it? To have a beautiful woman in front of you, but to not feel any sexual arousal whatsoever. Because I've experienced the same thing. It's like my fiance is absolutely gorgeous, but then there are times where I just have zero arousal. It's like, man, what the hell is going on here?
What the hell? This is crazy.
That's not how I am. It's crazy, man. So a lot of people go through that. I'm sorry you did too. So I guess at that point you realized, hey, something's really going on here. I got to come off this medication. So did you stop pretty much right then?
I stopped like three days later, because I mailed my dermatologist, and I told him everything.
Yeah.
And just he mailed me back. He mailed me back, and he told me, okay, just come off the drug and wait for 3 weeks or 1 month to the symptoms to resolve. So I said to him, okay, so I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna come off the drug and just wait to the symptoms to get out of my life. But that didn't happen.
What happened next then? Did the symptoms get worse? Did they stay the same?
They got worse. They got worse in every way. Not also sexually, but I started to notice because I already told you that the weeks before the crash and coming off the drug, I was noticing the psychological side effects of finasteride, because it has. It obviously has. So I remember starting to have very depressive thoughts and moods, and the insomnia was worse than before. Obviously, sexually, I was completely shut down. And I remember like having my first dates with this girl, and thinking about the condition, thinking about how I was feeling at the moment. When you are 30 years old, in my case, I'm turning 31 in the next weeks. So at that time I was 29, and I was thinking, I'm 29 years old. I'm meeting a very beautiful girl, having dates with her, and when I kiss her, I don't feel anything. I'm doing like funny plans with her, and I also don't notice like this happiness or this joy that I should experiment when you are meeting someone special. So I was like connecting the dots and saying, my body, my mind, psychologically, everything is crashed. I'm just like a dead man. You feel dead inside.
You do.
It was like that feeling.
So when, if you don't mind me asking, what month was that, or in what year? When did you officially come off it?
This was Christmas 2022 to 2023. So it was like the final of December, and then the month of January.
Gotcha. So yeah, you've been off for about a year and 3 months now then, roughly.
Yes, that's it.
So if you don't mind me asking, where are you at now? Have you seen progress? Have you seen improvement? Are you still dealing with these symptoms? What's your current status?
So I'm still dealing with it. When all of this started, I remember being just so lost with the situation, because you don't know what's happening. And I started to go to some specialists, endocrinologist, urologist, and also an andrologist months later. But no doctor could tell me what was happening to me. They started to tell me, well, this is psychological. You have to relax, and everything is going back, is gonna come back. Don't worry. And I was like, man, I'm not lying to you. This is not like a man who has erectile dysfunction because he's nervous about having sex or whatever. I'm telling you, I cannot have a normal erection when I jerk off This is not psychological. And also when you lose, because I lost my nocturnal and morning erections, when you lose that, that's not psychological because you are sleeping. How do I do that? How do I do that? I do that, you know, it's
That's
impossible.
there. That is, because I know I've talked to a lot of people who that was the first thing they noticed was that their nocturnal erections just completely disappeared.
Yeah.
They wake up and they wouldn't, have no erection. And
Yeah.
so that's obviously something that's not psychological. There's a physiological issue in your
Of
body at
course.
that.
Of
So
course.
did were there any doctors that believed you? Do you have any doctors currently that you're
Yes,
working with?
I had one endocrinologist that believed me. Right now, I just have a I just had an appointment with him like some days ago,
Yeah.
and he told me about some things that I could try, like a fasting diet, or maybe this like a natural supplements like maca or tribulus, you know, like all the stuff that PFS patients know, you know, because as PFS patients, when you start to know other patients and asking about treatments or things that could help us, they tell you about these supplements and stuff. But I don't think at the in the present day that that could be a cure or something. It's just like something to maybe feel a little bit better, but it's not a cure. It's not a cure.
I think that's the issue with supplementation and these protocols that people try to promote is that they're not
Yeah,
cured. For some people, they end up making them a lot worse. I've talked to
yeah,
people who tried pretty
yeah.
extreme protocols and they come out of it feeling 1,000 times worse than when they went into it. And so, I mean, this is why we push research so hard. I've talked about this plenty of times, right? Like donating to the PFS network, donating to the other organizations that are actually looking into this with world-class professional scientists. I mean, we need to figure out what the biomarker is, right? Find the root cause to all this so we can start developing targeted therapeutics. And the fact is, we're not going to be able to experiment our way out of this. There's been nothing consistent that's been used over the past 20 years that's worked for everybody. Some people will say, I tried this, it made me feel better. Another person will try the same thing, it makes them feel worse. So it's really, you just got to approach those things very carefully, you know? Um,
Hmm.
so having said
Yes.
that, have you talked to your family about this or your friends? Did they believe you? Or are you open about this?
At the beginning, it was tough, you know, because as PFS patients, we only understand each other between each other, you know. And when you tell this problem to a person that that who's not experimenting the same symptoms as you, uh, it's difficult to make a connection, you know. In even if it is with your family or your closest friends, it's not like they don't believe you, because I didn't feel that, because I feel that they believe me, but they didn't know how to help me, you know, to get through it, you know, to just feeling understood, you know. They didn't know how to help me because this is a very rare disease, as we said, and when doctors don't know how to help you, and your family and your friends also don't know how to help you, you feel so alone. And also and obviously they want to you to be good, and maybe they, you know, I remember they were telling me, just be patient, do things that bring joy to your life, or go back to work, or just do things, you know, have a routine. But it's very difficult when you are going through two depressions, you know, because one thing that I wanted to tell is that most of the people that hear about PFS thinks that we experiment all these symptoms because we are depressed. You know, they tell the psychological, this is psychological and everything. But I gotta tell them, first thing, this is not psychological. We already said it, I know, but I have to be very clear about it. And we experiment two depressions. At least it was my case. On and if I and when I have been talking with other patients, they have told me the same. So it's two depressions. You know, the first depression is the chemical one. You know, because finasteride can affect you and can affect your brain, the neurosteroids, the neurotransmitters. And also when you read the papers of finasteride, at least in Spain, you can read about suicidal ideation and mood changes and stuff. So there is a first depression that is caused by finasteride, and then there is a second depression coming after, that is a normal, like a natural depression of what you are living, because you are going through very debilitating symptoms that obviously depress you, because it's very depressing. So when you notice that, and you see and you read that some men, or many men, have killed themselves with PFS, I understand them. I'm not saying that I'm good with it, because I feel really bad about PFS suicides, but I understand it, because I've been through it. I've been through these two depressions. Last year, I've been into a psychiatric center twice. So I've been 2 months in a psychiatric center last year, because there were like two times last year that I was really suicidal. It's true, because I didn't know how to get out of this. I didn't see a way out, a solution. So I was really frustrated and sad, because I'm 30 years old. I'm a young man, and I should be living my best life. This should be the best years of my life, and I'm stuck here just figuring out how to live better with this disease. So it's very unfair.
Yeah, Carlos, I really appreciate you opening up and talking about that, because that's not an easy thing to talk about, right? Suicidal ideation. And that is so pervasive in this community. I mean, every person I've talked to has suicidal ideation who has PFS. And, when people ask, well, why do you have suicidal ideation? It's like, imagine having a rare and controversial disease that almost no one's heard of, right? Because you don't know too many people who know what post-finasteride syndrome is outside of this community. And then you go to doctors who gaslight you, who tell you this is in your head. And then you have people online who say this is nocebo effect, this isn't even possible. And you're stuck here, and you're experiencing these symptoms. And in some cases, you can demonstrate them for people who have physical changes that happen to them. But then at the end of the day, you're told this is all in your head. You feel so unbelievably trapped. And so what's the answer? For a lot of people, they start thinking about suicide. It's very understandable why they go down that path. It's horrible, which is why we need more urgency with getting this figured out, with fixing this and building awareness, because I guarantee you more people are going to continue taking their lives, especially considering how aggressively marketed finasteride is at this point, right? I mean, I can go on social media right now. I'll get 5 different ads from 5 different telehealth companies that are selling finasteride or dutasteride or salt palmetto or whatever it is, man. So yeah, suicidal ideation, it's very prevalent in this community, and suicide itself is very prevalent. People do follow through with it. So I've been there, man. I'm really sorry you've experienced that. It seems like you have made some good progress up to this point. You're feeling a little bit better.
Yeah.
If you don't mind me asking, has it affected you at all cognitively? I mean, I think you mentioned you took time off work because of this, if you don't mind me asking.
Yeah, no, the 90% because of my depressive, my depressive mood and my depression, and the insomnia also, because if you are depressed and you are suicidal, and also you are not sleeping well, I remember the first weeks, the first months of finasteride, like I wasn't able to sleep more than 2 hours straight. I was having like this really bad sleeping with intervals of 2 hours. 2 hours, I wake up. Okay, I get back to sleeping. 2 hours, and it was like, this is crazy. I remember, and it happens me. It still happens me, because as I told you, my symptoms haven't resolved, in the present day. I'm just trying to live with it, but they haven't resolved. And in the present day, I still experiment, like waking up like with hangover. I don't know if this is a cognitive issue with finasteride, but I wake up and my mind is blurred. Like I last like half an hour or 1 hour in bed trying to figure out how why I feel this bad. I cannot think straight, and this is my day by day feeling, when I wake up. This hangover, like this bad sleeping, it's crazy.
I think that's a really good way to describe it, man. It's like having a perpetual hangover that never goes away. You wake up and you feel foggy, and you feel you're in pain and you can't think clearly. And I wake up with headaches. I don't sleep anymore. You said you're experiencing nights where you only get 2 hours of sleep. I've been sleeping for 2 hours a night for 2 years now. It's horrendous. It's absolutely horrendous. And that's just one symptom of many,
Yeah.
It's horrible.
How can you work normally with a 2 hour sleep routine? It's impossible. So we are trying. We are surviving. This is survival, really. So at least it's my way to describe it, and it's difficult because the PFS, it's kind of an invisible disease. Normally your friends and people in your entourage normally think that you are good because you are trying to feel good. You go to plans, and they see you normal because apparently you are good, but we are experimenting a lot of bad stuff that it's obviously affecting our well-being.
Yeah, it is tremendously. And Carlos, I'm so sorry you're going through this. You're a fighter, obviously. You're doing very well for yourself. I really appreciate all that. I appreciate you coming on here, man, and sharing your story. Before we jump off, do you have any closing statements you want to make, or anything else you want to say?
Yeah, well, something that I want to say to all the men that are there and are thinking about taking finasteride, I want to tell them that don't do it. Please don't do it, because we don't have a test right now. We don't have a test to know if you're gonna develop the disease. If you're gonna have PFS, we don't know that, and so why taking the risk? I want to tell them that in my case, well, right now maybe we don't see it. Well, I'm going both in this area, but personally and honestly, if right now I had to lose all my hair to get my health back, I would do it. Once PFS comes to your life, at least for me, your hair is not important anymore. I don't care. I don't have any insecurity, Mark. I promise you, I don't have any insecurity about my hair since PFS came to my life. So don't worry. This for all the men that are thinking about this, starting this treatment, don't worry about your hair. It's just an aesthetic issue, and just have a normal life, a healthy life. Don't take this pill, and you're gonna be good, okay? Because it's just that.
Very, very well said, Carlos, because I've said the same thing 1,000 times. I would shave my head today to get my health back. And it's so funny because my hair was such a priority 3 years ago when I took finasteride, and I was so careful about taking it because I'd done my research. And then after experiencing all of this, because I've had physical changes, I've lost muscle, my face has changed. I've had serious cognitive issues. I got 25 symptoms I deal with daily. And to your point, if I had known that this was even a possibility, I would have never taken the medication. I wouldn't have even considered it at this point. But I wasn't learned about this, and now there were you.
Me too.
Right. So hair loss, and you have to go through this to, I think, really understand this, but hair loss is so minimal in the big scheme of things. You would take hair loss any day over dealing with post-finasteride syndrome. So I agree with you. So
and also just going to therapy to treat your insecurities with alopecia and with baldness, is way more cheaper. Well, it's cheaper than having PFS and paying all these treatments or protocols or supplements or whatever, and also I'm not talking about money, of course, because money in this case, when your health is affected this way, is not that important. The price that we pay, is in other ways, and they are more important than money.
Absolutely. Well, Carlos, hey man, really thank you so much for coming on this channel. We really appreciate it. And we will see everyone next time. Thanks again, Carlos.
Okay. Thank you, Mark. Bye.